Hello, and welcome to Weed and Grub.
Isn't it ridiculous that, not only we're expected to do all of these things now, one person as a creator, you're doing a audio podcast, you're doing a video podcast, you have to shoot video in order to be now an editor, to edit together reels, and to be a colorist, to color your video and put them all on, and be a sound engineer and audio to make sure all of these things work and sync at the same time. And let's not forget to take pictures of all the brands and all of the things and each other to promote everything, because all we're doing is big marketing, advertising, shout out machines.
Really? That's how y'all feel about it?
But it's so much fun.
I was gonna say, there's no
It's so much
gatekeepers.
fun.
You have complete freedom.
Yeah.
It's all up to you. You can
Great.
name your own rate.
Mhm.
Cool.
And if you can grow and have success, then you can have even more control, power, and success. I love that it's on our shoulders. I don't want to work for somebody who's going to tell me what to do and change the whole thing that's working so well for me. It's a lot of work, but god damn if it's not a dream job to create.
If you can make it work for you, you really can. But my sigh was because I came of age in a time when I was just I went through a theater school system where I was going to be spit out into a universe that I understood that was very, it was a classic because it had been operational in that way for so long. You auditioned for something and then you got a part in something and then you were, then you just did that job and you had a director and all that kind of stuff. And now to be an actor, you have to be a one person content factory in order just to get in the room and be seen for a role in anything.
Yeah.
Including plays in LA, which is just so wild. So I just get tired on that level.
Should we introduce you at the end? or
Yeah.
now? Maybe at the end of the episode. We can say your name.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, I was going to say, I love it. It's a lot of work. It's exhausting. It's so much. And every single day I'm just oh my gosh. I was having a moment where I was doing another thing, but thinking about, I was literally editing a video in my mind while I should have been paying attention to this other thing, which I don't want to say what it is because it's kind of embarrassing, but not really.
Okay.
But also to your point, Mike, I get to have a career out of this. I get to build a business out of this. I get to step out of a corporate life and have my own and have control of my own future because of this. And we have tools like a phone in our hands that can do all of it. It's magical.
This is a good place to really introduce you.
Yes. What up, Mary Jane?
How's it going, Mike?
Awesome. Welcome to Weed and Grub, everyone. This is a podcast about comedy,
Cannabis,
cooking,
culture,
calling shit out,
and content creation and being your own boss.
Yeah, with Christina. Whoa, 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 whoa,
Hi.
whoa, whoa.
I was just saying right before we started recording, I was like, this is kind of, even though you've been on this podcast before, I feel like this is the first time we're having you on because it's our first time IRL.
It is.
And you've created a whole new company basically since we first met.
I've created a whole new self. I feel like a whole new person.
Wow.
What do you mean?
So since I was on your pod, pandemic, right? So that was 2020. So it was 2 years ago.
Yep.
I was in an old relationship, a different business, and just myself. I feel like it's been such a journey.
You can go back and listen to our episode when you were with Baking with Chickens.
When I was baking with chickens.
And you had just won an incredible pie contest with your amazing, there was a meringue.
It was a Seville orange marmalade meringue pie that Evan Kleiman from KCRW texted me and is like, this is fucking delicious.
Wait, what's her
she
number?
likes smoking weed.
What?
Yes, we're
I
gonna have you on,
her
Evan.
pizza. I interviewed her. That I need to write the article still, but I asked her what her favorite food to make while high, and it was for a series on cannabis and creativity. So I actually have her favorite pizza recipe that she likes to make while high, and I haven't written it out yet because I just can't muster myself to do it because she's so amazing. And,
Whoa.
yeah.
So
Cool.
so going back to that time, you were baking with chickens. And
What?
I mean, you were baking with eggs that your chickens laid.
And I still do. I still have the chickens. They're still there. It's just not the focus. And I didn't even really know how to cook with cannabis at the time. You had asked me, I remember, how would you make a cannabis-infused pie? And I was like, I don't know, the butter and the crust maybe. But I really didn't know. But then I subsequently ended up writing an infused pie recipe for High Times, a year later. So I learned so much. And now I have a whole new business that's focused around culinary cannabis. partially thanks to you guys.
Hey.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
hard-hitting question. How did you infuse that pie?
Yeah.
So for the one for high times, that you could do it several ways. It sort of depends on how potent you want it. So if it's a beginner,
Let's say I want to go pie sky high.
I would infuse all of the pieces.
Holy
So
cow.
the cookie crust would have infused can of butter. It was an ice cream pie, so it's a pumpkin ice cream. So that would have infused cream. So you could make infused ice cream. And then there was also crumbled pumpkin seed brittle on top. So the pumpkin seed brittle could be infused. And then there was also I think there was like a bourbon whipped cream that went with that too.
Lord in heaven.
My, how far you have come. Holy cow.
Oh, and there was bourbon hot fudge that went on top. It was like fudge, pumpkin brittle, some bourbon cream. Yeah, it was a mighty fine pie.
Mighty fine pie. I mean, are you taking custom orders
I am
still?
yes.
Okay, so if someone like I know Gabrus reached out, or maybe Tiffany
I
did,
did, yes.
to make his
so
birthday
John
pie.
Gabrus's wife Tiffany, who's an amazing floral designer, who
Shout out Sweetser Life.
we became friends on Instagram through you guys, and I love her flowers. And she asked if I would make a cake for his birthday, so I made him a custom banana pudding pie banana pudding cake. Because she told me that banana pudding from Magnolia Bakery is his favorite dessert, and I was like, oh no. I have a banana pudding that's actually better than Magnolia's because it actually tastes like bananas. So I made that into a cake for them. There's like this epic rainbow swirly thing that had like live flowers on top. It was so cool.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And also, you heard it here first, Magnolia. We're coming for you.
That's right.
That's right. You ain't nothing compared to
They're
fruit and flower.
They're delicious. I'll still eat it.
Yeah.
But
I'll hire
if you have
instead.
to.
yeah,
but
but I have opinions on banana pudding. We could go off on banana pudding.
Can we do that really quick?
Yeah. What are
AJ?
your opinions on banana
Because
pudding?
I just had a banana pudding from Bloodsoe's barbecue.
yeah.
And okay. So here's my overall assessment of a banana pudding that I look for, and maybe you can share yours as well. I loved Bloodsoe's because of whole banana chunks, and that was really nice. But the cream was broken on the top, and the vanilla wafer, I think they like batch make them, so the vanilla wafer was way too soft, and I needed that vanilla wafer crunch in the banana pudding to add a little bit of texture to the glop. And so overall, great banana flavor, nice and creamy. Love how cold it was, but broken cream, soft wafer. 7.6 out of 10.
Like what's your ideal banana pudding? When you put a spoonful of banana pudding in your mouth, like what do you want it to taste
I
like?
want to unhinge my jaw like a snake because there is so much cream and so much pudding that the cream touches my nose as it goes in my mouth.
I just want a rich custard, like super custardy slop with no banana pieces and no Nilla wafers and no cream.
Oh, you're a
You
purist.
just want banana.
I just want banana pudding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair. Okay. So
So I could just like give you a banana and call it a day. You
No,
roll
I
it in
want the
some sugar?
custard. I
Yeah.
love custard. I could drink custard for
Yeah.
3 meals a day.
So this is my very strong unpopular opinion about Magnolia Bakery's banana pudding, which I love and I will eat and inhale all day long. So don't get me wrong, I really like it. I just think that this is what really needs to be better about banana pudding. It's not banana pudding. It's vanilla pudding, vanilla custard with banana slices in it and whipped cream.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Nilla wafers. And that does not a banana pudding make. If you're going to get banana pudding, Mary Jane, to your point, I want freaking banana-y banana pudding. That pudding should taste like bananas, which means you have to steep your milk and your cream like overnight with really ripe bananas to get that banana flavor in. And then you make the custard and then you fold all of that custard with the whipped cream so it's nice and fluffy. And then you add more whipped cream on top and you add in the chunks of the bananas. And then what I learned from a mistake actually was I accidentally put 1 tablespoon of salt instead of 1 teaspoon of salt when I was making the homemade vanilla wafers. And the cookie itself was horrible and inedible. But sprinkled in the banana pudding, it provided just the right amount of like salt to make the entire dish sparkle because you've got a lot of sugar, you've got a lot of creamy textures, and you need that crunchy texture and you need that salt to balance it out to make the entire dish sparkle. And so my criticism of most banana puddings is that it's just too sweet and it's a glop. It doesn't have texture and flavor and things that really bring it to life. Now, infuse it with can of butter, which is what I did for John Gabrus's birthday cake. holy crap. Holy crap.
Yeah, Gabriel was saying that he just left it out and just was taking forkfuls like as he walked by all day long. Like that's how he ate the entire cake.
And I infused it with, I think it was a Hawaiian cookies strain from Farmer and the Fowler. One of those, like it had like a tropical note to it.
Mhm.
And so the complementary aromas from that strain and the cannabis in with the banana pudding was absolute magic.
Oh boy, I need to excuse myself for a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry, not for diet.
Oh, it just sounds
No, we're not on diets. I mean,
no. I mean, I need to like go and get myself off in a different. It's so good.
Are you gonna come right back?
I could just I'm gonna come right back.
All right, I see what you're saying. Yeah, please spark
like
that
this.
while
Okay.
we and Mary Jane and I can like vamp for a second as you spark that beautiful pre-roll.
Well, I've got to, we've got to talk about what you brought for us today because we've got some of your fantastic treats laid out on the table, and I want to taste one on pod. We've got CBD dog biscuits. Archie Moo was very excited when we opened those, and some of your terpene cookies, which I want you to talk about, and then a very special kind of cookie that I don't want to say too much about. I want you to set it up.
It's my terpene tea cookie set. So I don't really make things to sell. I make things more for art or for things or for events, custom orders, requests, and then for content for social media. But I made these for Tammy, Cannabis Cuties Higher Learning Book Club event.
Oh.
And then I made some smaller ones because I originally envisioned it in a pack of 4 like this, where you have 4 different ones. And so there's a linalool, which is the lavender and Earl Grey cookie. So linalool is the terpene in cannabis that is responsible for calming and relaxing effects and feelings. So
Even the way you're saying it is like feeling like a blanket on my legs.
And I have to say, I just bit into that one, and it's so buttery, shortbread, satisfying, beautifully glazed,
yeah,
and the lavender
little-
comes through so perfectly. This would win the Great British Bake Off. I
Thank
can
you.
say, yeah.
And there's a little pressed organic lavender flower on top.
With a little, is that what's the glitter?
It's just edible glitter.
Edible glitter.
I like to put edible glitter on the flowers so it looks like pollen. So like you're imagining. So like when I was like, I get really high and decorate cakes, and then when I put the flowers on it, I get real intense with the glitter pollen.
Which one are you going to taste, Mike?
I really want to try the black pepper parmesan with the caryophyllene.
I bet it's
Is it this one?
Yes.
Yes.
So
I'm a savory
that's
baby
my
these
favorite.
days.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
It's caryophyllene. Is it caryophyllene? Caryophyllene?
So we had this conversation recently with our friend Robert, who's behind Tempo Crackers. Do you know Robert?
Yes.
And Robert pronounced it one way and I pronounced it the other. And
Yeah.
I can't remember who said which, but I ended up going home and looking it up, and it turns out either is acceptable.
Okay.
So I think he might have said, I can't remember.
Robert
but-
from Tempo was exactly who I had this conversation with.
Oh.
That's so wild, really?
Out here
yeah,
doing
well, we were
terpene
eating
knowledge.
those cookies.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so caryophyllene is
Okay.
the terpene that is commonly found in black pepper.
Black
That's
pepper.
also, if you get too high, smelling some black pepper can also help you reduce the effects. And so I did a black pepper Parmesan shortbread cookie,
Mm.
and it's a savory cookie. It's so good. I love the savory. I want to find more savory strains. I think Mike, you turned me on to like the cheesy strains.
Ooh, a cheesy
they're
one is
hard
the
to
best.
find.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cacio
Ipepe?
Ipepe
Uh-huh.
is what this reminds me of, but it has that shortbread butter, like the butteriness that would be in a cacio.
Yeah.
The pepper, like this is
I
a
would just
great
remake
cookie.
that as a cacio e pepe cookie, and that could sell on its own too. Like,
Oh,
Cacio
come
e
on.
pepe.
it's so good.
It's so good.
That's so amazing. There's like a cloud of smoke surrounding you like a
Sorry.
halo right now. I'm good. Thank
The
you.
blessed one. And then we also have rosemary pine nut with pinene.
With pinene. So pinene is in the rosemary. So that one I overbaked slightly. I'm so sorry. Mistakes happen. Meh.
I'm
but
pissed
still
off.
delicious. Still delicious.
Oh wow. Okay, here's what I'm gonna say because we're friends, so I can be straight up with you. I am an anti-rosemary person
Oh.
because it will overtake everything that it's like a close talker. You know what I mean?
Okay.
In the dish, like it's way too close. It keeps interrupting everybody. You're like, you're a lot, rosemary. You need to back it down. This is perfectly balanced.
Oh,
Okay, I
thank
do
you.
This
have a little
has
bite.
like that subtle underneath rosemary where it just like comes in to say hi and be a friend and
Oh,
then
yeah.
gets the fuck out of there.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
it just stuck
thank
its
you.
head in through the doorway and said, "How you doing?" and then left.
Exactly.
Nice.
You know what that cookie was inspired from? So if you've ever been to Pizzeria Mozza here in LA, they have the butterscotch budino dessert, which is the butterscotch like fancy pudding with a layer of caramel on top, and it's served with a rosemary pine nut cookie. So that was my inspired by, not a copycat, because I don't actually remember what that cookie tastes like.
I
I've
will
been there
text
in a
Nancy
second.
Silverton if you will text her. No, I don't have her number. That would be amazing.
You have met her though.
I have met her on my
Yep.
birthday.
Yeah.
That was
What's
cool.
up, Nancy? Come on the pod.
Mm.
I recall having a brittle that you made that was pumpkin seed and rosemary, wasn't it?
It was a pumpkin seed, rosemary. Maybe there was some spicy chili on that too. That's the brittle that's on top of my pumpkin pie, ice cream pie recipe in
Ooh.
High Times. Wow. Okay. Wow. The higher I am, this is hard.
We need to put a warning on this episode at the beginning. It says, warning, it's going to be delicious. So you might need like a pint of something while you listen.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we've got to give people like a food porn warning on this one.
Food, yeah, like if you're driving, it's going to be very frustrating listening to
I'm
this.
sorry.
You can't just go to the fridge.
But
Find a
that's the thing
loose
is-
nut under your
Unless
seat.
you're like,
But this
in my
is my
car, I
whole-
have a fridge in my car.
Oh, nice flex.
Yeah.
But this is my whole point of like, right? I'm like, stoners love food. We
Mhm.
love eating.
Mhm.
Why don't we talk about the quality of food and like these really delicious things? And there are lots of cannabis chefs who talk about it, but I think there's like this missing opportunity, right? Like Bon Appetit and Food and Wine might do like the one cannabis issue, but like they're kind of tapping into other people. And I was like, why isn't there a Bon Appetit of like culinary cannabis?
Can I tell you
okay, I'm
why?
gonna make it.
Yeah.
Can I tell you
cool.
why straight up?
Why?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think it's because too many people focus on the cannabis part and not the delicious food part. And food, more so in America, brings people together than weed. Weed is
Yeah.
a beautiful thing that brings people together, but
Mhm.
it should be the good rosemary
Mhm.
of the food, right? Like
Yeah.
it can't just be weed. It's got to be food forward, I believe, and no
Yeah,
one's
like-
doing that.
But it's like, they're doing like the cannabis cooking shows, but it's all about the weed. They're focusing on this, this, oh my God, we're getting high, ditchweed thing. And the food is beautiful. And I know many of the chefs who participate and they're super talented, but the way the information is being presented it's a missed opportunity because people love food. People
Yeah.
love to eat. Cooking shows, food shows, all of those things are the number one things that people watch. And we're not talking, and like, this is why I started Fruit and Flower, because I was looking online looking for recipes and all I found were really bad pot brownie recipes. And I was like, look, I really love brownies, trust me. But like, come on, like we can be more creative here. We can
Middle
do
or
more
corner?
fun things.
Middle or corner?
Corners.
Fuck yeah.
Always.
What about you?
Metal.
I like chewy brownies too. Do you like chewy or cakey?
Chewy all day. Cakey is a cake.
I mean, I don't even need to bake it. I just put it in my mouth from the bowl. We're going to be real about it.
But you're absolutely right. And that's why you're doing something like for this last cookie, it's just a lemon cookie, right? Simple,
Yep.
clean. But
Mhm.
I'm just
limonene
now
is-
realizing that I just ate my entire lavender cookie. Didn't offer you a bite. And then you've been sitting there so politely, like offering me a bite of every one you're tasting.
I want everyone
And
to
I,
hear that.
I just housed a lavender cookie without even batting an eye. I'm
It's
so
okay,
sorry.
Mike. There's
So
more
true.
in there.
I
That's
didn't
why I
even
gave you
offer.
guys more than one packet.
Sorry. Oh, one side, not the corner, Mark says.
Oh, one flat side. Very nice.
Uh-huh.
Hell yes. That's a little best of both worlds.
Yeah.
All
right.
Limonene.
Final
Limonene.
cookie.
Limonene.
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 Limonene? Let's ask Robert. Robert!
I know. I say limonene.
Okay.
I've heard limonene.
Great. I'm going to say limonene too
Okay.
then.
It says lemon.
What?
So wouldn't it be limonene?
Well, it's limon in Spanish, right?
Limonene.
I guess we're speaking English though, so I'm going to go with Christina on this and say limonene.
Limonene.
Limonene?
Limonene.
Let's just call it Nini.
Limonene.
Nini.
Just
Yeah,
Nini.
the peony Nini.
Oh, and so limonene. So if you also get too high smelling some lemons, lemon peels,
Thank you.
drinking a little
Mm.
lemon water will also help diminish some of those effects so that you can come down better. Because I get asked that too. Like, it's really
Well-
uncomfortable to be too high. And like, what can you do? I actually got a call from my friend. Her daughter's friend got too high and she was like, what do I do? And I like talked her through it. And like, she was fine.
And I want to
Great.
talk to you about getting too high because I know you have a story
I have
that maybe
several.
you're willing to share. But let's do the news really quick. The Grub Gazette. is presented to you. Oh, actually, we should crack open our sumo snacks.
Oh, let's
as well.
eat everything.
have
this
I
I
episode.
love
Thank
sumo
God.
snacks.
What flavor do you want to try? Have you tried them all?
I've tried them all because I actually make content for them as well.
Amazing. I'm gonna crack open
You
the
know what
salsa
I
verde.
did with
Oh.
these things?
Yeah.
The crunchy, not the puffs, the cheese puff things.
Yes.
I made these cheesecake cheese ball truffles. So I made
Whoa.
like cheesecake balls and then put crunched up cheese, like infused cheese dust all over it. So you could pick it up and eat it like a cheese ball dust. So it has a little bit of the savory. It has a little bit of the sweet.
It sounds so
Eh.
good.
Yes.
Dang, with sumo too?
And where can I
Darn fine
get one of
chip.
these?
Yeah.
You can hit me up on Instagram.
Perfect.
And because I like you, I'll make them for you.
And what's your Instagram? Plug
So
it
I am
now.
at Fruit and Flower on Instagram, all one word. A-N-D.
Perfect.
Beautiful. As we tuck into these salsa
Crackin'.
verde sumos, go to sumosnacks.com. Get
Mhm.
yourself a free sample of the salsa verdes because one, love a round chip. Two, love a perfectly powdered round chip. Three, they get me really high in a really joyous way. Go for it.
Well, you're such a pro because you keep like talking about things before eating them, and I'm just stuffing everything in my mouth.
That's why we're a great team,
It's
Mary
a
Jane.
good team. We're a good team.
hmm
I'm just over here eating all the cookies. Eating
If
all
I
the
was
sumo.
a king, I would be like, you should try that first.
Okay.
Well, I would be your taster.
You would be my taster.
If you were a king,
Yes.
yeah, I'd be dead pretty fast, probably.
So
You-
this
who's
is
trying to
10
poison me?
milligrams per serving.
Mm-hmm.
How many is one serving?
The whole bag.
A bag.
No. It's
Between
100
three people, a bag.
milligrams. It's 100 milligrams for the whole bag.
Right.
Yeah. So,
And
So
then
that's a
there's
serving.
10 servings per container.
I'll give you the
7
34
chips.
gram section of the chips, and we'll
Okay,
take the
so-
33s.
So this is information that I find interesting, right? Because I'm new to get to the news. I'm sorry, but now I'm gonna.
I'm
talk
having too
about
good
your
of a time to
sponsor,
care what
Sumo.
we're supposed to do.
So like this is the whole thing, right? As a consumer, as somebody who likes food, if you don't know weed, none of this is gibberish. Nobody knows what this means, right? Okay, 100 milligram THC per bag, 10 milligrams per serving. What's a serving? So now I'm scared, I'm freaked out. And I love sumo. And it's just like, I'm like, okay, like, and this is the hard thing with edibles because they're difficult to dose. And even with my cookies, it's like the brittle's really hard. I'm like, it's about this much. But I'm like, okay, what if I didn't know and I ate the whole bag? Now I'd accidentally have 100 milligrams. So I was like, okay, because I'm like, how much is in one chip? Can't tell. You can't determine that. And then 10 milligrams per serving. How many per serving? Flip to the back on the nutrition facts. And then it's like, all right, 7 chips.
7 chips is 10 milligrams.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So that's cool that I can find that information. But I'm like, would normal people figure that out and do the math?
Well, I feel like normal people don't necessarily know what their edibles dose is to begin with. Like, I've definitely seen friends of mine melt down on 5 milligrams.
Yeah.
And I definitely have friends who eat 100 milligrams before they start their day.
Yeah.
So if you're not a regular cannabis consumer,
Yeah.
you don't know.
Yeah, maybe normal's the incorrect word. I would say if you're not a usual cannabis consumer or you're not in the industry looking and paying attention to understand what these words mean.
Right.
Mhm. What I would say is you should take a bag of regular tortilla chips
Mm-hmm.
and hide a couple of them in that
Mix
bag
'em?
and mix them all together and then see how you feel based on how many chips you mixed in as a surprise.
Or just eat the whole bag and find out what happens.
Yo, you could
because
always
that's
go less.
also
Yeah.
fun.
You could also go less, and all it means is you
Mhm.
take a nap. That's such a good point. Yeah, I do appreciate the sumo packaging when it comes to saying 100 milligrams in big bold letters on the front because
Mhm.
100 sounds like a lot no matter who you are. I would assume, right? Like 100 is a pretty
Oh
big
yeah,
number.
I'm nonverbal at 100 for sure.
Yeah, could you do 100? Well, you
No, absolutely
no,
not.
Really?
No.
Oh, I feel like I'd be
absolutely
tasting my
not.
batters all day long until I had like a
No.
2,000
Well, all-
milligram tolerance.
No, all my I generally bake very low dose because I'm making things for people who have a lower tolerance. So I make everything low dose unless somebody specifically asks me to make it high dose. Like for John Gabris, like I made his 30 milligrams a slice because he can handle it. And that's like, and they told me that this is my tolerance. I trust that. But if I don't know, I will keep it low to be safe because I don't want to give somebody a bad experience. And that's the hard part when I walk around and I look at the edibles in the dispensaries is there's so many high dose products now because there are medical patients and high dose users who want that and they're the ones who are buying, and so companies are making those. But for somebody who's just a casual user or a new user coming in and they want to know, it's intimidating because now I'm scared to grab that thing because I don't know if it's going to get me fucked up.
Yeah, that's why I love the fast acting edibles and the nanotechnology that's
Yeah.
coming out in a bunch of lines because you can titrate, start with a low dose and see how you
Yeah.
feel in 15 minutes. And it's like, I don't know, the first time I had that experience, I was pretty excited about it. But I don't know how available that tech is if you're making homemade stuff or if you're,
It's
like that's
difficult.
lab.
Yeah.
What if
Yeah.
we change the language and we were, instead of saying that people are scared, we say things like, I hope you're excited to try something new and then learn what the perfect dosage is. I think like the word fear and the word scare when we talk about these things is kind of a bummer terminology to
That's a good
approach with.
point.
Well, can I tell you what I think it's tied to that I hope we really can get rid of pretty easily is any shame around being really high around people.
Mm.
Because I feel like that's what everyone is scared of. It's like getting too high and being around people and then having that crazy stigma that's just been associated with being high all of a sudden. And you are so self-conscious when you're really high as well.
Mhm.
And I know the few times that I've been like what I would term uncomfortably high in front of a lot of people, I spend the whole time thinking about what they're thinking
Yes.
about me.
Yes.
And that whole cycle is, I think, part of the fear is that you're going to be like, oh no, I got too high. And I hope we can just normalize, like, get super high in front of your friends. Maybe be nonverbal, and that's okay.
And
I've
that's
gotten too
okay.
high on this podcast, and Mike was like, "Do you need to rap?" And I was like, "Mm-hmm."
Didn't even get the yes out, just a nod.
But it should be. And we were walking home after that. Do you remember you said to me,
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm sorry, I got so high," and he was like, "If you can't get super high on your own podcast that's about
Sure.
weed and food, then
Yeah.
So I just want to normalize that for everyone. Like, part of the fear of being too high is something that just shouldn't really exist. You should be comfortable being what's maybe not comfortable for a minute, right? Was that a soapbox?
You keep standing on them and the box keeps getting to be the right height.
Okay, great.
Great soapbox.
And I really appreciate your positivity. That's a really good point, right? It's like, why is this a scary thing? Whereas like it's an opportunity to be like, hey, you get to explore this and like learn your dose and try it, which is what I'm trying to do. And it's like, but like, let me give you a safe space and like low dose and start low. And here's recipes you can make at home with amounts that I know you'll be okay with.
100%. Yeah, let's take the Coca-Cola route and show people on a rooftop having a nice time, right? Like,
What's the Coca-Cola route?
Well, that's all their commercials. It's like people in a club having a nice
I thought
time.
you meant like
people
make
on a
it
roof
corporate
having a-
or whatever. And I was
Well,
like,
I
oh,
mean,
what are
it's
you
going
talking
that way
about?
anyway. But as we get there, let's like, use
Let's
a
get
little
some
bit of
polar
celebration.
bears.
Yeah.
Let's get
Done.
some polar bears.
And I also want to say that like I think that weed consumers don't necessarily think about set and setting as often as we should, because you hear about it so much with the psychedelics conversation. But, like also consider set and setting with weed for sure to have a great time.
Oh, we're going to come back to the setting conversation. We come to the cookie conversation. But first, Mike, you were talking about the news.
Grub
Yeah.
Gazette, guys. It's a real weed and grub.
And Mary Jane hits the transition perfectly because this is about psilocybin. Today's Grub Gazette is brought to you by High Times Magazine, SUMOSnacks.com. So this is fruit fly study shows psilocybin produces long-lasting antidepressant-like effects. So
Great.
scientists...
Lucky little fruit flies in that
Yeah.
study.
Yeah, how do you think they signed up?
I tried to
Long
get
line
into
to get
an
in, huh?
MDMA study. I applied to be a subject for an MDMA study through MAPS. So
Oh,
I don't know how
that's
those fruit
cool.
flies signed up for that study, but good on you guys.
Under references, you put, I know some fruit flies who did a pretty tight
Yeah.
psilocybin study. So
Lucky.
check out this professor of pharmacology in Louisiana State University Health and Science Center. Their name is Charles D. Nichols, and they used fruit flies because apparently fruit flies have a close enough genetic makeup to human beings that while fruit
What?
flies, we may not know if they actually get depressed. Like we've never seen a sad fruit fly that we know of.
Right.
Possibly,
right.
maybe
Yeah.
they get sad,
They definitely got sad.
sitting on that apple, just
Yeah,
contemplating their choices.
Bummed out that banana is not ripe yet. Like, man, when is it going to be brown so I can buzz around it and be a happy fruit fly?
I can't believe you didn't get that map study. Damn, man.
I'm perfect for it. Please put me in all your drug studies.
But as it turns out, as far as serotonins and receptors and like the basic makeup of a fruit fly, not the emotional makeup, it looks like psilocybin highlights the places that signal antidepressants in human beings.
That's cool.
Very fucking cool.
Did you
And-
study fruit
yeah,
flies
please.
when you were in school? The only thing that I remember studying about fruit flies was their eye color. That you can, like, there are fruit flies. Some fruit flies have purple eyes, and some fruit flies have white eyes. And there was like it was like part of our genetics study. It was like, I can't even remember. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. Sorry.
I've never met a fruit fly.
What are you talking about?
I've never seen
Come
one.
over to my
I have a whole
house.
bunch that live at my house. You
Yeah.
can come over there.
Do you?
Yeah.
They're a nuisance.
Yes.
I also have lots of overripe bananas that then get turned into banana pudding.
And you have
Perfect.
psilocybin. I wonder if that's the problem. You both have so many mushrooms at your place. No wonder you have fruit
Well,
flies.
I am
you know.
mushroom rich, yes. And that leads us to these special cookies that we're talking
Oh,
about.
yes.
Let's
Well, mushroom, they're not that kind of special. They're the other in addition to. But I do have a mushroom story.
Okay.
Speaking of all of the things and talking about, learning how to understand your dose and everything properly. So I've just started really dabbling with mushrooms in the last, I guess, 9 months or so, and baking with them and how to incorporate them into desserts. So in the similar way that I do with cannabis, where I make low dose, I'm doing very low dose of different psychedelic in mushrooms, and they were featured actually on National Geographic, which was really freaking cool.
Congratulations.
So did you tell your parents?
No.
I
Well, my cousin, I showed my cousin because my
feel like
cousin's
that's
cool.
something you tell
But
your
then my
parents.
cousin showed her dad, and he was like, "I heard those things are bad."
Ah, what
And we
an
kind of left it at that.
awesome validation move.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, that's huge.
That was really cool. Yes, but so I was making some special cookies for a friend, and I'm still while I'm a baker, one of my challenges is attention to detail. And so when working with these substances, you have to be very specific and very careful. So it's very hard for me. So I have to concentrate extra hard. But I'm not a chemist. I'm not a scientist, all of these things. And so I was mixing stuff around, and because I needed to dilute to get the correct amount, because there's also lots of math involved, which I didn't realize was going to be a thing when I got into doing this.
Yuck.
But right, I have to do all of the math to quadruple check and make sure that the amount that I think that I am putting on is in fact a low enough dose of what I think the calculated amount is. So
And this is an assortment of psychedelics that you're mixing together?
one at a time, but
Mhm.
I'll tell you, yeah, we'll talk about what happens. So usually, I don't know, I'm still learning and experimenting with it. This is all very new to me, and how to do this in a very safe way. So most of the time I'm trying them on myself or my friends. And
Yeah, what
was-
can I help with? Because I'm gonna eat a
yeah,
bunch of
we're
these.
gonna.
Like, do
Yeah,
you
so I'll
want?
tell you what you have in front of you. So let me tell you my story first, though, about mushrooms, and then we'll go into these.
Okay.
So I was mixing something, and I had a tiny, tiny glass bottle the size of a thimble that had a mushroom tincture in it. So a mushroom tincture is very concentrated amounts of psilocybin in like a little liquid. It was in a dropper. And I'm pretty sure that I had drank that ages ago, and I just had an empty bottle. Fine. And I had poured some vodka in it to like rinse it out to do my thing. And there was a bunch left. And I was like, well, it's a thimbleful, waste not. And I took the shot of vodka. And an hour and a half later, I was on the couch, and the walls were like just melting around me. The floor was swirling. My head was pounding. My heart was pounding. And I thought I was going to die, and my cats were going to eat my eyeballs.
Yeah, you Albert Hoffman'd yourself.
Like, I was like, what? And I did it. And I didn't know what it was because I
Yeah.
was making cookies with something else. And so the
Ah.
psilocybin was not what I expected was going to be happening. And at that much, because I don't have that kind, it was empty.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
And so there's residuals in there. And what I learned was also alcohol opens up your receptors to getting all of that in. So I don't even know what dose I got. I just know that I don't know if I had ego death. I didn't see anything new. There weren't there's no pink elephants, like nothing new appeared to me, but like the llama on my wall, like the llama painting on my wall was for sure talking to me.
Uh-huh.
Did it turn to a camel in the middle?
No, it was just like talking
Was
to me.
that the first time you had ever had that kind of a
that
trip?
much. Yes, it was my first hero's dose. Like I had only ever done smaller doses, maybe like a medium dose, but not like that hit all at once in such a hard way.
And you're new enough, you're saying, to psychedelics just like in your life that like this
Yes.
in the last
I
9
have not
months is
tried
when-
any of them since
Wow.
like in the last year.
Congratulations on
Thank
having
you.
your first like heroic
Also, it's
dose.
thanks to you guys.
It's awesome.
Listening to you talk about your experiences on your podcast made me feel more comfortable and open to trying it and experimenting with it.
That's the best thing
That is
anyone's
really
ever
cool.
said.
That's fucking cool.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I have to ask, would you have eventually taken a hero's dose, or is this the
I've-
best possible way it could
I've
have
been
gone?
working my way up, and I don't know. if this
Sometimes
is
you
the
got to
best-
jump off the diving board, you
I
know?
feel like it comes without you. It comes when you call it without you knowing that you've called it. Like you called that to you,
Mm.
and
I
it showed
did.
up on a day
I mean,
when it
I've
was
been
like,
going
I have something to show you.
Yeah, and I've been saying that. Like, I find that cannabis and mushrooms and all of these substances have provided so much clarity for me in my life with everything that's been going on. And I mean, I went through this big breakup. I changed over my whole life, changed over my business, everything. Like, it's been a huge transformation, and also working on myself and really having some reflection time to be like, all right, like, what went wrong in this relationship and what did I contribute to it? And I'm working through all these different things, and the mushrooms and the cannabis just keep throwing lessons at me. And so I actually wrote about my experience, what I felt. You can read about the actual, like, the thoughts that were going through my head on my Substack, fruitandflower.substack.com. So it's my email newsletter basically, but also you can read kind of my writings and get recipes. But I write all about, the walls are melting is the title of it, and it's just me recounting like how I felt. And it was scary because, like, you'll hear me go from a past tense into a present tense because in my mind it's present tense. And I was scared. Like, I knew I was going to be fine. I was like, chances are I'm going 95%. I'm probably going to be fine. I'm not going to die. I'm tripping really hard. I need to chill out. Otherwise, I'm going to have a really bad trip. And like, I couldn't chill out because there was all of these things. I had cookies with like illicit substances in the kitchen all around me. Nobody knew what I was doing or what this was, or scraps of paper written around. I'm like, if I die, will the cats eat my eyeballs? I live alone. No one knows that I'm here. What if my parent, then they're going to find me, and then my parents are going to come and they don't know what the hell's going on. And oh my God.
Did you? I haven't read. I'm going to have to go read your Substack.
I have to interrupt for a
Okay.
Because if you want to read that Substack, and you want to see the cat that's going to eat her eyeballs, there's a picture of Sugar in the Substack, and it's like, Sugar is right by your head, and it's very funny.
I was just going to ask, did you make it outside? Like, did you make it off the couch?
So what the lesson that the mushroom taught me was a lesson in trust, because I have a very hard time letting go and giving up any control and trusting others. And I feel awkward asking others for help, honestly. Like, I don't like calling. I'm like, I can handle it. I was like on the couch. I was like, I can handle this. I'm just going to lay down here. And then I was like, nope, can't handle it. I need to make a phone call. And I had to call my friend to have him come over. And like, when he came over, he knew. And it was like, I knew that I needed someone to take care of this so then I could feel safe in case anything did happen. Because I'm at this age where like shit happens. Am I having an aneurysm? Am I having a heart attack? Who knows? Anything could go. So I was like, okay, I need to have somebody here who can at least be accountable and like get me somewhere in case something bad does happen. And then once that happened, I was able to let go. And then after that, that really opened, like, as I was thinking about it and writing this all out, I came to this realization that I was like, oh, the reason why I have such a hard time letting go and trusting people is because I'm counter dependent. And that's because, therapy session, because my parents didn't provide me enough emotional support when I was a kid, X, Y, and Z. And this is how I treat my partner. And this is why I made him feel the way that he felt. And if I want to have open myself up to love and actually have a good relationship, an intimate relationship with somebody, I have to let go of that. So that's what the hero's dose of mushrooms did for me.
Woo! Even Archie sat up. Look, Archie's like, yep.
Felt that energy,
Yeah,
felt
it was
that weight,
so
felt
intense.
that
When I
release.
realized it, it was just like, I was like, huh. Like, I got like hit in the chest with it. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah, you make me
That's a
think
lot.
of the hero doses that I've done that have broken through those realizations. I feel like all of my thoughts about death and aneurysms and all of those things were actually coming from those emotional things that I'm fucking carrying around that had to bubble to the
Mhm.
surface. But the first thing I think of to protect myself is just death before I can like even get to the idea of something real and tangible that I'm just feeling.
Mhm.
And so it sounds like, to equate it to yours, like I had to break through those terrifying death moments of heart attacks to get to like the real shit. And once I
Yeah.
got there, it was beautiful, but it was
Yeah.
hard.
I will say the trip that my first sort of real like going through I call it tearing apart the veil in my experience was in response to grief. I had lost one of my best friends, and I was at Burning Man, and I was out in the desert, and we'd all eaten mushrooms, and my friends were going to bed, and I dug into the bag and I just shoved as many as I could fit into my mouth, and I walked into the playa.
Wow.
And my experience of, like that, just totally being able to let go and process things was just confronting my friend's death and the grief that was sitting with me and coming to with like, my back on the desert and just looking into the sky and being like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to continue to be okay. It was crazy. But I wrote about it as well because it's really like when you have that kind of psychological shift, it's so cool to be able to document, like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I was also, I'm like,
great.
wow, I suddenly understand my mom and where she's coming from and how she has the same things and where her fear comes from. And I finally understood intergenerational trauma for the first time and where mine comes from. And I was like, it was intense. I realized this last week, you guys, and I wrote it down, and I'm still like, I talked to my therapist yesterday, and like, I still don't have an answer. I'm still working through it.
Yeah. Can we call this one a thimbleful of secret vodka? Or like a thimbleful of
secret mushroom magic?
Secret mushroom magic
Yeah.
vodka thimbles? Wow.
It is. It's medicine. It really is. And in the right doses and the right forms with the right intention. And that's what I think I've gathered a lot from what I've been doing and the people I encounter is that, it's about setting intention. It's a set and a setting.
Set in a setting and a trip sitter, like a trusted person.
Yes.
If you're not comfortable being alone, that's so important.
I guess I gotta disagree with both of you because there are times when I have tripped so hard that it's been uncomfortable and I just came out the other side because I believed it without setting any type of intentions.
But
I was
did
just
you
having
know
fun.
that was going to happen?
That I would have a hard time.
That you were going to take them. Well, see, I guess for me, I didn't at this point, I didn't know that it was mushrooms and I didn't know what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew that I was most likely on a psychedelic substance. I don't know which one, but it could be something else. I have no idea. I should call someone.
I get that. Yeah. Yeah, totally.
But like, I think if I knew that this was what I was in for, this is what I had planned, and I took like, I mean, also that's so bad. What an image, right? Just like standing there and like, and like walking out, like that's such a movie scene. But like, like you knew that this is what you were in for. Like, I think for me, the tearing for the irony in the lesson is in letting go and trusting, right? And I couldn't control myself having that experience because if I controlled it, then it wouldn't have been the same, I guess.
Yep. Wow. That's so neat. Like, yeah, it just presents itself sometimes. Like you're saying, you've had those uncomfortable ones that you didn't prepare for and they've affected you in a positive way, you're saying?
A mostly positive way, but again, to tie it into public shame, when I'm tripping really hard in front of other people, that's the looking back part that gets in the way of the lessons and the growth that I've made is the panic over what the hell everyone was thinking about me when I was on that hero dose.
Yeah.
Shout out Vegas.
I remember being at Big Bear with you and a bunch of friends, and there was one friend who hadn't eaten mushrooms, and all the rest of us were out like just, I mean, I think you saw Ruth Bader Ginsburg in the Moon. I saw House Spirits.
It was very funny.
Full on like Studio Ghibli, like it was
Cool.
beautiful. It was beautiful. And I remember at one point looking up and like just feeling my face, the shape of my face with the laughter that was coming out of me. And then I looked down and I looked at the one friend who wasn't on mushrooms, and he just looked at me and he said, "You look crazy." And I immediately had that moment of seeing myself through someone else's eyes. And I just looked at him, but then I looked around and he was the one that looked crazy because he was the only one not on mushrooms. And I was like, that's a good little, but you're so right. Like that moment of society's expectations of who you are and what you are when you're high is like you're a dangerous, crazy lunatic. And that's just not the case.
I mean, I was high
Or
on
sometimes it can
mushrooms.
be,
I
but-
was microdosing mushrooms walking around Huntington Botanical Gardens in the succulent area, and it was like nature was shouting at me with its colors.
Whoa.
It was so fun. I was like, it's like a daytime rave. Like all the plants are like shouting at me, and they're like, "Hey."
Wait, there's another one in your Substack. What's the name of that place? The Botanicals?
That's the Huntington Botanical Garden,
And it's got like
It's in
different
Pasadena.
rooms or something? It's crazy.
There's
right?
like a museum. There's like a rose garden. It's really beautiful just to go see the plants, and like there's all these different like flora and fauna and art.
Best thing you can do for yourself when you're high, go to a botanical garden or an aquarium. Remember when we went to the Monterey Aquarium on edibles? That was like,
Man, I was trying to communicate with that octopus so hard.
there was this flamboyant cuttlefish that was just, I was like, what's happening? Oh my God, the best.
It really was. It was a real
Yeah.
flamboyant cuttlefish.
That's the actual species name too. And it looked like Liberace crossed with a cephalopod. It was wild. I was like, wow, you are fabulous.
There goes the hat. You made me laugh my hat off.
I made Mike's hat come off. That's a good feeling.
Well, but so you had asked me earlier if I was able to get outside. So to
Yes,
your point, right?
Very important.
Being, anything cannabis. Well, so my trip sitter who came was like, okay, let's, I wanted to just go into a deep dark hole. I wanted to go into my mushroom hole, which is when I've done higher doses, that's what I do. I kind of bundle up, I close my eyes, I go in a hole and like let it just deep clean my mind without me experiencing it. Whereas this one, like, I was forced to experience it. And but yes, getting outside into the sunshine, into nature is such a big difference, because like I couldn't walk, so I couldn't get outside yet. But then once I could walk and I got out into a room that was closer to nature, I felt instantly better.
Yeah.
And being outdoors, because I think it's like mushrooms are of the earth. You have to be connected with the earth for it to really do its magic.
My most uncomfortable trip that I ever had, I was like, it was a bunch of stuff. Everyone was in costume. Everyone had been drinking a lot, and we were in a cramped apartment. And I just remember the feeling of how bad it got.
Mm.
And as soon as I got outside into the backyard,
Mhm.
it just, I was like, that's what I say to everyone. Like if you're having an uncomfortable time, all you need to do is change your environment, and it will change your trip.
Yeah.
Completely. And I don't know if that information is disseminated enough.
And so there's also like this like a rooftop deck to like hang out and smoke and like have like sunset cocktails or sunset sessions and just enjoy the sunset for a moment. Like that's been there like for as long as I've lived in the house, and I never used it until now. It's such a shame. And then like I moved my bedroom up into like this area that used to be the office so that I'd have these beautiful views of like the trees. So it looks like a tree house.
So good.
And it's just, yeah, just rethinking, just like really taking a second to rethink my space. So I don't know, my favorite place is my home. I spend most of my time there. I never leave.
That's awesome. That's
to have your
ideal.
favorite space be your home is pretty great.
Yeah.
My house is like not my favorite place to be, so I got to change that. You're inspiring me.
Yeah. Oh, but also, so the other cookies, so the transition. So the reason why I started making these psychedelic cookies in low doses was because, for me as a newer user, I was also scared, terrified. The opportunity of the excitement wasn't there yet because I didn't have the information, and lack of information and the knowledge that like not knowing what's going to happen, I think is scary. That's what scares me anyways about the experience. And so once I started getting access and being able to try microdosing and doing it in small amounts, just like I started with cannabis, I was like, oh, okay, I feel comfortable having like a small microdose of LSD or MDMA. Let's see how I feel on a little bit before I go on this huge hero's journey that, the walls start melting, because it's too much. Like you work your way up to that. But for me, somebody handing me a tab or whatever pill, like here you go, that makes me nervous. I don't trust that. But if I'm able to put it in this beautiful baked good, and it's like, here, this cookie I can tell you is, 10 milligrams. It's very little. Like try that and see what you think. And if you can always have more cookies, and you can dose up next time if you want to try. And so then it's in smaller dosable amounts, and they're really beautiful, and they're not as intimidating as a pill that someone hands you. And so I graduated in the last 2 years since we first talked, from not knowing how to bake with cannabis to making cannabis infused baked goods to doing psychedelic baked goods, which are really fun because people haven't seen this before. And so I also really like matching the cookie to the feeling that you're going to get when you're on that psychedelic. So I brought you guys, Mike and Mary Jane, it's called a cookie flip. So it's like a candy flip, and it has LSD and MDMA.
Sweet.
Those are like my favorite letters.
Candy flipping?
LSD and MDMA.
Great.
Top letters.
Nice.
So a candy flip is I've read about that you do in bigger doses. So I made them into a cookie form. So you can either eat both cookies at the same time, so you can do that way, or you can time it apart. So there's a really great article in Double Blind magazine, which is a magazine about mushrooms and psychedelics, that explains the candy flip like step-by-step process. So I also have instructions in there and a guide for how
hand over the...
for how you can cook. I call it cookie flip, but really it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. And I dose these a little bit higher for you guys because I know you have a higher tolerance and more experience. But when I did the lower doses, I'd give them to some friends, and they really liked it because they're like, yeah, like I had some mild effects, like I'd try more. And so that's how I went from not having any to trying some micros and some cookies to now being like, oops, and having really opening up and changing my experience and hopefully my relationships and who I am and unlocking something that I didn't know needed to be unlocked. So, woof.
It's so cool. And these, I got to say, these directions are so fabulous because you eat one cookie first and then you wait for the effects and then you eat the other and like the whole, a rainbow sprinkle, rainbow munchies and a lemon crinkle. Have you tried flipping them?
I
Like
haven't.
eating them in reverse order?
I have not. So the rainbow crinkle, what is that one?
Rainbow munchies.
Rainbow munchies.
Are these non-infused?
No, these are infused for us.
Those
These are
are-
also infused.
Those
Yes.
are, so the rainbow one is with the LSD, right? It's a little sparkly, it's crackly. I like to put, so I put the sparkles on it too, so it's nice and fun to look at. And then the lemon crinkle cookie is the MDMA because it makes you feel like a nice warm sunny hug.
Yes. I'm so excited to eat those.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much. This is such a lovely assortment of things that you're making, and people can get in touch with you to make custom orders through what's the best way?
Through Instagram is a good place to start, but a lot of times, so I don't really make to sell because that stresses me out and I don't like it. I will do, custom requests for events, for brands. I make a lot of stuff for brands. If you want like a custom birthday cake like Gabrus did, I can make things like that, but it really depends on my time. Instagram is the best way just to reach me directly. But when I have extras of baked goods that I have, signing up for my Substack email list is the best way because if you become a paid subscriber, you get first notice when I have food drops available.
Fuck yes.
So
Fuck
what
yes.
that means
Sign
is
up.
when you become a paid subscriber to my email list, when I have extra baked goods kicking around, whether they be infused or not infused, I will let you know and you can be the first one to get dibs on it.
Ding ding chicken wing.
Are you fucking kidding me?
kidding?
What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck? And I just wanted to add. Oh wait, no, I forgot. Oh, I do. Can I say?
Yeah.
Can I? Is it?
What?
I'm sorry. I'm like ripped and having a nice time. I wanted to say something to you on air, but I hope it's an okay thing to say. And if not, we can cut it out. Okay.
Okay.
I'm so glad in a weird way that you've gone through so much because I was thinking about Pokemon when you were describing going from not knowing how to bake to now baking with psychedelics and how you've evolved. And like when you were doing baking with chickens, there was a focus on the chickens and now the focus is on you and your skills and your talent. And it's so fucking cool to see that evolution of you coming to like right now.
Aw,
It's
thank you.
very fucking exciting.
Thank you. But I look at it as it's all that, but also Fruit and Flower Unfurled, which is Substack, is really about how do I take all of this and help others discover this in a really safe and fruitful way? Because I love doing these all low dose. It's much less intimidating. It's a fun, beautiful way. That's why I say Fruit and Flower is where culinary cannabis comes together in unexpected ways, because these are the unexpected ways you can experience this in really delicious celebratory ways, and you can do them in small doses. It's not about getting fucked up. It's about feeling better and using these as plant medicines and using food as a way to teach and talk about it in ways that people can understand it so that they do have an opportunity that they can start. What did you say earlier, Mike?
Pokemon?
Yep.
Wait, which is your favorite Pokemon?
I just Charizard, classic Chars, Yeah, why? What's yours?
The
Oh, and I like
Fire Horse one.
The Fire Horse?
Mhm.
Well, it started as a Ponyta, but it becomes a something else.
Oh, I don't
I haven't
know.
talked about Pokemon in a long ass time.
Is that what you meant though? Was the Pokemon thing I said?
No.
I don't remember.
But you were
after
saying
that.
about how like instead of it being scary, it's
Oh,
because
yes.
like it's an exciting opportunity
Yes.
instead.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good way to go through life, I believe.
Yeah, looking at things as possible. Yeah, that's a great way to go through life.
Yeah.
If I could face every fear thinking it might be an opportunity for change, how great would my days be?
It's the only way. Anyway, we don't need to get into that. That's more about me than it is you, and we should get to Buds of the
Yeah,
Week.
we should get to Buds of the Week. This is
Uh,
a good spot.
Yeah, my Bud of the Week this week is you. No, there's also so Buds of the Week is when we choose somebody, something, a band, an artist, whoever it is, something that our listeners should check out because you're excited by it or them as well. So we just want to shout out some people, and we'll go first to give you a second to think of one if you like.
You want to go first or second, Mike?
I got mine pulled up. How about you?
Go ahead.
Rock, paper, scissors, me?
No, you go ahead because I don't have mine pulled up. So
Okay,
I
so
need a
my butt of the
second.
week this week is Jade Warner, Jade.Warner at Instagram at Jade.Warner, who said, "Hey, Mike and Mary Jane, I was listening to your most recent episode, and I wanted to share that you can make a healthier magic shell on ice cream by melting coconut oil and dark chocolate or whatever kind you want. Didn't know if you already knew that, but had to share. Happy snacking. Ice cream emoji. Did you know about that magic shell trick?"
Yeah, it doesn't really work though because there's a weird chemical thing about magic shell that is like part of the pleasure for me. But I do want to
You
try
like the
this because
poison.
I do. It's like one of those poisonous things where I'm like, ooh, yeah, give it to me. Give me that poison. But thank you for that tip because
I'm going to take her tip and not poison myself.
Yeah.
You're the taster anyway, so this makes sense.
I'll take your not poisoned and I'll add poison into, or some plant medicine into it, and you can make that infused coconut, and now you've got yourself infused chocolate magic shell.
Oh,
Okay.
Christ almighty.
All right.
You hear that, Jade? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, 'cause that's what I want. That's what I want.
And if
That's
you
what I
want to
was
know how to
missing.
make infused coconut oil, you can go to my website, fruitandflower.co, and it has recipes for how to do all those things.
Hell yes. Do you use a particular infuser?
I really like the Ardent. I
Mhm.
also use Levo. But if you're just at home and you've got no tools, my favorite one to recommend is the mason jar method. If you have a mason jar and an oven, you're good.
Nice. And
Awesome to
and
know.
cheesecloth, right?
Nope.
No
I
cheesecloth.
just use a strainer.
Wow.
It's not that small.
Okay.
It's okay. Yeah, you don't need to grind it very small.
Sweet.
And also can just go into it. Just eat it. It's okay.
Right.
It's like
I'm
fiber.
Imagining an enormous mason jar and like a pasta colander and just like my dream oil.
You guys would be so surprised at how little flour goes into making any infused oils. Like I smoke more flour than I use to infuse like big batches of baked goods.
I learned that lesson the hard way because I infused some butter and made it so strong that I just totally knocked myself out.
Yeah,
of
because
the
the
game.
mistake people will make is like, oh, like this is how much I smoke in a bowl. Like I'll use this or in a joint, and it's like, no.
Hmm.
That's gonna be way too much. And people are like, oh, I need the butter to be green because that's what I see on TV.
Sure.
And that's what this is supposed to look like. And it's like when I make my butter, it's like it barely changes color, but it still works.
Fucking works.
Mm-hmm.
My butt of the week is Beat Dizzy on IG. It's my friend Lucy. Lucy, I've just known for a really long time as just like a wonderful soul in the world. And Lucy is now like basically growing her own medicine on her beautiful property in Bainbridge, and also like trying to save a bunch of like local conservation efforts and just doing good work like for the earth and the land as a conservationist. An all around wonderful human who I know listens to the pod. I love you, Lucy. At Beat Dizzy, follow Lucy for great medicinal plant content. And she's just fabulous. That's
Good
my butt of the week.
Aw. Oh man, I've got buds of the week, one collective
Yeah.
group. So I just want to give a shout out to my fellow Bakers Against Racism bakers. We did a bake sale this last weekend for reproductive justice, and we had all met during a bake sale from before, and we got together and we raised over $12,000 for the National Abortion Network. So that was pretty rad. So shout out to Winter of at Winter Fate Bakes for being the LA lead and organizing everybody and making it all happen. And my friend Val from at Depressed Cake Shop for getting the space and handling the money and the payments and just and all of the other bakers. I can't list all of them, but it was really incredible because it was the first time that many of us got to meet in person. We did the other bake sale during the pandemic, so we all knew each other but never met, and so this was the first in person, and it was amazing to be around that kind of energy.
That's awesome.
Damn.
Wow.
I mean, that's how you drop a fucking mic.
That's it.
That's how you butt of a week.
That's how you're wrapping up. Thank you so much for coming on. It's so good to just hang out in a space with you instead of doing this through Zoom like we did the first time. So thank you so much for joining us. Please come back all the time. And
Is that a nod of confirmation?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
sweet.
shout out your handles one more time where everyone can find you.
I'm at Fruit and Flower on Instagram. My website is fruitandflower.co. And then you can link out to my Substack and email list from there.
Perfect.
And you can befriend me if you want to try any of these treats. I'm
Yeah.
available for new friends.
Follow us at Weed and Grub on Instagram. Email us wg@weedandgrub.com with questions, comments, whisk pics,
Mhm.
edibles pics,
Hedgehogs.
hedgehogs, dogs, all the creatures. And please, if you haven't left us a review, please do so because it really helps us with getting our podcast into more ears of more buds out there.
Yeah, I'm trying to do this on Mars one day.
Yeah, that's right.
Leave us a review, tag Elon Musk, let him know that we should be the first podcast on Mars.
I just saw a picture of him shirtless today, and my eyes still hurt.
Really?
Yeah,
Too beautiful.
he's so pale.
Hey, thank you so much.
I hope you have like my reaction to Elon Musk's pale white body.
Yeah, it was like quizzical, but it was
Like,
also kind of like,
what are
oh,
they
I mean, I
talking
still want to see.
Horrified. No, I don't.
I'll pull
I
it up.
don't. No.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.